Summary of Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. In Europe during the Renaissance, two noble families, the Montagues and the Capulets, are involved in a nasty old feud that no one living can remember how it started. Nobles and servants from the two families have been fighting in public, causing bloodshed and chaos in the streets of Verona. The city's master, Prince Aeschylus, says that anyone from either family who gets involved in another fight will be killed. Every year, the Capulets have a ball where people dress up. Naturally, the Montagues aren't invited. Capulet and Lady Capulet are very careful about making sure that the party goes smoothly for their friends and guests. They are also hoping that their daughter Juliet will fall in love with the handsome Count Paris at the ball. At 13, Juliet is almost old enough to get married, and the Capulets think that if their daughter marries Paris, she will move up in Verona's social order. A 16-year-old boy named Romeo and his cousin Benvolio, along with their wild and quick-witted friend Mercutio, who is related to Prince Aeschylus, show up at the party. Romeo only goes to the party because he wants to see Rosalind, a young woman he has been hopelessly in love with and chasing unsuccessfully for a long time. His recent lack of sexual success has made him look very lonely, which makes his friends sad, but they still make fun of their over-the-top friend's situation. Tybalt, a fiery member of House Capulet, sees the Montagues coming in and knows who they are even though they are wearing masks. He pulls out his sword and starts to attack them to start a fight, but Capulet tells him not to make their family look bad. Juliet walks across the room and sees Romeo in a mask. He falls in love with her right away. Juliet is also deeply in love. They talk and joke around with sexy references, and then they kiss. Romeo and Juliet are pulled away from each other to take care of their friends and family when the party ends. Each of them finds out who the other person really is on their own. Juliet regrets that her only love has sprung from her only hate. Romeo's friends are getting ready to leave as the party comes to a close. He splits up with them, jumps over a garden wall, and hides under Juliet's bedroom window. She goes out onto her balcony and cries out that she loves Romeo but can't have him. She says out loud that she wishes he could be some other name. Romeo runs out from where he is hidden and tells Juliet that he would do anything for her and that he is set on being with her no matter what. Romeo and Juliet say their love vows to each other, and Romeo says he will call Juliet tomorrow so they can get married quickly. The next day, Romeo goes to Monk Lawrence's room to see him. Friar Lawrence is a kind and philosophical monk. Father Lawrence is begged by him to marry his new love, Juliet. These violent delights, Friar Lawrence says, have violent ends. He tells Romeo to slow down and enjoy love for what it is. But Romeo and Juliet say they know what they're doing. Friar Lawrence changes his mind because he sees that Romeo and Juliet getting married could end their parents' long-running fight. Later that same day, Tybalt, who is mad that the Montagues crashed the Capulet party, runs into Benvolio and Mercutio. A letter from Tybalt to Romeo challenges him to a fight. Mercutio and Benvolio are afraid that Romeo, who is impulsive, will accept Tybalt's challenge. When Romeo gets there, Tybalt, Benvolio, and Mercutio are teasing each other and getting ready to fight. Romeo does everything he can to avoid fighting with Tybalt. He and Juliet are now married after quickly going to Friar Lawrence's rooms together. Romeo doesn't want to fight Tybalt because he is related to him, but he also knows he can't tell Tybalt the truth. However, before Romeo can explain why he isn't ready yet, Mercutio steps in and challenges Tybalt to a battle. Romeo tries to get them apart, but Tybalt stabs Mercutio under Romeo's arm and kills him. Mercutio curses the Montagues and the Capulets and calls for a plague on both houses before he dies from his wounds. Romeo kills Tybalt in a sad and unhappy rage and then calls himself Fortune's fool. Benvolio tells him to get out of the square quickly. Along with the leaders of House Capulet and House Montague, the prince and the citizens' watch show up. When Benvolio tells Prince Aeschylus what happened, the prince decides not to put Romeo to death but to send him to Mantua instead. When Juliet gets back to the Capulet manse, she waits dreamily for Romeo to come home from church so that they can spend their wedding night together. When Juliet's nurse walks in, she breaks up her reveries by telling her that Romeo killed Tybalt and has been sent away from Verona. Although Juliet is mad at Romeo for killing Tybalt, she also says that she loves him so much that she would rather he live than Tybalt. The nurse is told by Juliet to find Romeo and bring him to her. She tells him that she still wants to see him, even though he did something bad. The nurse goes to Friar Lawrence's room, where Romeo is hiding because he is sad, embarrassed, and angry. The friar tells Romeo that he is lucky to be living even though Romeo is sad about his situation and says he will soon find a way to bring him back to Verona from Mantua. The nurse comes in and calls Romeo to Juliet's room, which he gladly does. Friar Lawrence tells Romeo to go straight to Mantua in the morning and wait for word from a message. Capulet is very sad about Tybalt's death. To make himself and Juliet feel better, he plans to marry her to Paris right away. Romeo and Juliet say goodbye as dawn breaks the next morning. Juliet tells Romeo she feels bad that she'll never see him again, but she tells him to hurry on to Mantua. Lady Capulet walks into Juliet's room right after Romeo leaves and finds her daughter crying. Lady Capulet tells Juliet that she is going to marry Paris soon because she thinks Juliet is still sad about Tybalt's death. Lady Capulet tells Juliet to tell her father about her choice, but Juliet says no. Capulet walks in, and when Juliet firmly and angrily rejects the plan he's made for her, he says he will disown her. Lady Capulet supports her husband, and even the nurse tells Juliet to forget about Romeo and marry Paris. In a rage, Juliet runs to Friar Lawrence and tells him she will kill herself if he doesn't come up with a way to get her out of her marriage to Paris. Friar Lawrence quickly comes up with a plan. He gives Juliet a bottle of a potion that, when drunk, will make it look like she's dead, but it will only sleep her for 40 hours. Juliet will be buried in the Capulet tomb. When she wakes up there, Friar Lawrence will take her and hide her until Romeo comes back from Mantua. He says that he will tell Romeo about the plan so that he can quickly get back home. Juliet takes the vial and brings it back to her house. Juliet drinks the medicine even though she is scared it will kill her or not work at all. She passes out right away. When the Capulet family wakes up the next morning, Juliet seems to have died. Capulet and Lady Capulet cry a lot over the death of their daughter, but Friar Lawrence tells them they shouldn't be because they were looking for Juliet's promotion in life. She has been given the greatest honor possible now that she is in heaven. Balthasar, Romeo's helper, comes up to him in Mantua and tells him that Juliet has died. Romeo is so upset that he wants to deny the stars and go back to Verona. But before he leaves Mantua, he goes to the store of a local apothecary that sells drugs that are against the law. Romeo plans to kill himself in Juliet's tomb by drinking the poison from the vial. Friar John, Friar Lawrence's brother in the cloth, has not been able to send the letter about Juliet's fake death to Romeo. Romeo doesn't know that Juliet is still alive. Friar Lawrence quickly runs to the Capulet tomb to try to stop something bad from happening. There is trouble at the graveyard, though. Paris and his page have arrived to put flowers around Juliet's tomb. Paris hides to see who has come to the crypt as Romeo and Balthasar walk up. Romeo gets some tools and starts to break down the tomb of the Capulet family. Paris steps forward to stop him, shocked and angry. Romeo kills Paris in their fight. It is possible for Romeo to open Juliet's tomb, and he takes Paris's body down with him. Romeo looks at Juliet and notices that her cheeks and lips still look red from the blood. But he decides to drink the poison after giving her one last kiss because he thinks she is dead. Romeo dies after drinking the vial. When Friar Lawrence gets there, he sees a terrible scene. Father. Lawrence tells Juliet to follow him without looking at the bodies when she wakes up. But when Friar Lawrence hears the sounds of the citizens' watch, he runs away and begs Juliet to follow him so he can put her in a nunnery. She stays behind with Romeo's body instead. She tries to drink a drop from his mouth because she sees the poison in his hand, but Romeo hasn't left any for her. She takes Romeo's knife off his hip instead and kills herself with it. A group of watchmen shows up and brings Friar Lawrence, Balthasar, Prince Aeschylus, and Paris's page to the crypt to look into what happened. The leaders of houses Montague and Capulet show up as the truth starts to come out. They are told by Prince Aeschylus that their anger killed their children. What does the prince say? Everyone is punished. They both agree to put up images of the other family's children in the town square to end their fight.
About the author. Shakespeare was born in Stratford-upon-Avon, Warwickshire, and grew up there. His father worked as a glovemaker, and Shakespeare only got grammar school education. Back in 1582, he married Anne Hathaway. But around 1590, he left his family and went to London, where he worked as an actor and playwright. Shakespeare was an instant hit. He quickly became the most famous writer of his time and a part owner of the Globe Theatre. King James took his acting group and named them the King's Men in 1603. In 1613, Shakespeare moved to Stratford-upon-Avon. He died on April 23, 1616, at the age of 52.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.